tryna say I'm only in the me. Got a code with my dogs, can get in between. I can give them life, no more energy. Amen.
Welcome in, everybody. We got the NBA playoffs, and I got one question for you, JJ. Do you believe in revenge games?
I do.
That's what we're going to be talking about today. We got the Bucks and Pacers round one. We've seen these. I think they played 15 times in the last 2 years. They're about to play at least 4 more. What's been interesting about this whole back and forth is these teams, although they've played each other 15 times, it feels like every time they played, somebody's injured. So it's last year in the playoffs, Giannis didn't play. And then there was even 2 games where Lillard didn't play. Now in this one, Lillard's not going to play, which we haven't seen in any game recently. So you can't just say, oh, this is what they did in those games, or this is who won those games, because everything's different. So let's get into it. We'll talk about the Bucks side of things first because Lillard's out. I think there's a little bit more to talk about. And it feels super square to say. Like, it's not super smart for me to say this. But Giannis is just, I feel like he's going to eat these guys alive. We've already talked about how we believe in the revenge narrative. You got to know that he feels some type of way about not being able to play in this series last year, especially with how much shit the Pacers were talking the entire playoffs. Giannis has been moving different this season. Nobody's really talked about it, by the way. Like, if Jokic and SJ weren't having historic seasons, he'd be in the conversation. So I just see him demolishing this Pacers defense.
Yeah, they're going to really struggle trying to like wall him off. They've definitely in the past, through those 15 games, either a mix of either just Siakam defending him mainly, which has been their best defender, but it's never been enough because he's still averaging like 30 plus points a game easily.
A lot.
He had that huge 60-point game with Damian Lillard playing last year. Probably Miles Turner, probably when they force a switch off the pick and roll, that little 4-5 pick and roll action. Trying to stop him from getting downhill it's not really going to work. So if they try to, that's just going to leave open shooters, and they'll probably throw that small ball lineup in, which we'll talk about later. But outside that, I don't think there's going to be any answer to stopping Giannis. Just let Giannis be Giannis. Maybe try and stop everybody else would probably be the game plan. I mean, what do you think?
It has to be. I mean, the one thing that I noticed when they have Giannis, the primary ball handler, without Lillard, they love to run Giannis with those big-to-big screens. They're one of the only teams in the NBA outside of maybe OKC and the Cavs that can run those big-to-big screens, where one of them is a very good ball handler and has elite size like Giannis does. What Pacers have been doing when that happens is they just switch. Like if Siakam's guarding him and Brook Lopez brings Miles Turner into a screen, there's no resistance. Siakam's not trying to fight over the screen. They just switch. And what Miles Turner has been doing when he gets faced up with Giannis is he says he gives him the mid-range shot. In previous years, that's fine. You're fine with Giannis taking a mid-range shot instead of driving to the rim. Now he's developed his game where he's very efficient from that mid-range, that elbow area. So you can't do that as much anymore. And the other factor of Damian Lillard being out is you're no longer having Damian Lillard bring the ball up the court, run a pick and roll, maybe hit Giannis rolling or hit Giannis in the post, where the Pacers can load up on one half of the court and then rotate on the weak side if a pass comes out. Now Giannis is bringing up the ball. He's getting the ball at the top of the key. He's already downhill by the time he reaches the arc. It's kind of, you can't really wall it off because it's very easy to do that too soon. But then you can't defend it one-on-one. Like Siakam, he doesn't get the respect he should as a defender. Nobody really talks about it. He doesn't have a chance on an island with Giannis. Not from the top of the key when he can go either way. It's not going to happen. So what's the Pacers supposed to do? Maybe bring in Obi Toppin instead of Nembhard to wall up a little stronger. But there's not much for them to do. They're either going to have to live with Giannis getting 40 and nobody else scoring, like you said, or Giannis is going to be getting a 30-point triple-double every game. Those are really the only 2 avenues I see for Giannis in a matchup like this one.
Yeah. So talking about that small ball lineup, so the last week or so, Bobby Portis came back for those last 3 games of the season. I think he's going to be a major factor in trying to help this offense elevate, especially without Damian Lillard. So what they've been doing to close out fourth quarters the last 3 games since Bobby Portis came back, they've gone Giannis, Portis, Gary Trent Jr., Kevin Porter Jr., and AJ Green. That combination in 48 minutes was a plus 42
42.
plus 42 differential. That is absolutely insane numbers. Granted, small sample size, but they've ran like a similar small ball lineup versus the Pacers, I believe, back in like New Year's Eve or so. And along with that, they ran some zone. They've been running a lot of zone the last couple weeks, so that'll be interesting defensively. But I mean, offensively, they're going to want to put a lot of shooters around Giannis would be the main thing here.
Yep. I mean, just building off of that too, the lineup you talked about, 48 minutes plus 42 is ridiculous. If we want to expand that sample size, what we can do is we can look at lineups just with Giannis on and then Lillard and Brook Lopez off, because it basically just makes it so there's Giannis, he's the hub of everything, and then 4 shooters if they try and double him. With that group, they have a 125 offensive rating in 510 minutes. It's a pretty strong sample size. I don't know where that 125 ranks exactly. I can check real quick, but it's also a plus 10 net rating. That puts them in the Cavs and OKC territory in terms of net rating. Obviously, those net ratings change depending on the lineups for each team, but it is something to note if we think Brook Lopez isn't going to be on the court for some of those big moments, and obviously Damian Lillard is out. But yeah, that plus 10.04 net rating would rank second in the NBA, only behind OKC, and would rank first in offensive rating by a lot. That's a 500-minute sample size. That's not nothing. So for the Pacers, you want to match offense with offense. The Pacers, as good of a defense as you have, that offense is going to get to work. You want to be able to match that with your offense, and with that lineup, they should be able to. So who would have thought that saying Lillard being out might work in their favor? Probably only in this matchup, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. On the Pacers side, though, I mean, Haliburton has had the Bucks number time and time again. For whatever reason, he gets these superhuman powers where he just can't miss a shot from deep every time he plays them. And on top of that, if he gets the switches he wants onto Lillard or Lopez, he gets to the paint every time. The Bucks converge, and that's where he's getting all these assists. As soon as his feet touch the floor, somebody ends up being open, because the Bucks defense is coached by Doc Rivers and they don't know what they're doing. So somebody's open, he racks up a bunch of assists, he racks up a bunch of threes. He's very familiar with this defense. Not anymore, not with these injuries. So what are we expecting to change on the Bucks defensive side of the ball in terms of how they're going to defend Hallie?
We kind of talked about it earlier before the show, and probably gonna attack, like, start the game. If Rollins is starting, probably attack him first, and then when AJ Green comes in, probably attack him. Still gonna be a lot of pick and roll. Probably don't want him to get any penetration off those drives. You let him get penetration off those drives, he's just gonna torch this defense, whether he's getting his little floaters or layups or just passing, because we all know his vision is insane. So we see open shooters, it's going to be a problem, which could be Miles Turner corner threes. But that pick and roll, if Miles Turner starts to get going early, I think Lopez has to come out immediately, probably throw in Bobby Portis at the 5, maybe a little bit of Jericho Sims, because those are 2 athletic guys that don't have to just straight up just play drop coverage. They can go ISO on defense. Sims can roam the paint a little bit as well. But I think that's probably what's exactly about to happen. Probably game 1, maybe Miles Turner starts off hot, but then second half they probably make those adjustments, especially game 2, get more Bobby Portis in, because the last 3 games with Bobby Portis coming back, Lopez he's only played like maybe 2 minutes max in the fourth quarter total in those 3 games. So they're liking that small ball lineup a lot. And I think we're going to see a lot of it, especially when they go into zone defense. And the Pacers have not done good trying to score against zone defense. I believe they're bottom 10 in a lot of quite a few metrics.
I mean, it makes sense. It doesn't surprise me. Part of the reason that the Pacers having such a high pace is so efficient is that it forces you to get your defense set probably before you want to, and you probably
Yeah.
end up in a couple mismatches. If you're in a zone, you don't really face that issue. Just get to your spot of the zone and then turn around. We made a lot of money off Miles Turner in the playoffs last year because of Brook Lopez.
Yep.
Those rotations became very, very predictable. The Pacers knew how to take advantage of it. If Brook Lopez gets played off the court like we're expecting him to, maybe not entirely, but at least in the closing, all that goes out the window. I don't think they have the same issues with Jericho Sims or Bobby Portis in the game. I think they're too athletic to follow that same game plan that
Yep.
they've been running defensively with Brook Lopez. So I think that's the big adjustment that we got to keep an eye out for through this series. Should it happen? Absolutely. Is it going to happen? You never know with Doc Rivers. Never know.
Yeah.
So I think this series is actually really close. It's the 4-5 seed. I don't think anybody's surprised by that. We've seen them so many times, like I've been saying. I think I just want to take the best player in the series in terms of picking a winner in this one. I think both offenses are going to look good, but I don't really trust either defense to limit either offense. So it's really just going to come down to the best player on one side is Giannis. The best player on the other side is Haliburton. I'm taking Giannis over Haliburton pretty comfortably, if you ask me.
Yeah, me too. And I just think there's just not enough to stop Giannis, no matter which way you spin it here. Like if both teams are the healthiest they've been right now, like obviously they come into game one, no Dame, and the Pacers have that same lineup throughout the entire series as well. I just don't think they have enough pieces to score. Because we talked about it before the show. Nemhard, I'm not sure what his role is going to be here because last year he was picking up Damian Lillard full court and he was doing his best to make it tough for him. Honestly, Dame's going to take a ton of shots, but he's forcing him to do a lot of tough stuff. But it's like offensively, he's not really a weapon. I'm not sure what he's going to do. So he feels kind of useless here, especially with how big Milwaukee is. And he's kind of a smaller guard. And then you got Nesmith, who will be aggressive, but I mean, his versatility on defense doesn't really help. He needs to have a big scoring show here, but that usually comes from corner threes or just spot ups and trying to get to the rim. I just don't think they have the right pieces to match up here for the series.
No, I can't see it happening. I think Haliburton is going to have to turn into Superman to make this thing happen. Have you seen the thing? People are trying to spin this narrative of this postseason run is going to be like LeBron's 2018 run, where it's like this is Giannis's chance. I think that's so crazy.
It is.
I think we've gotten so used to LeBron, like throughout the 20 years. I think we forget how like those big seasons, how ridiculous he was.
Yeah.
I love
And
Giannis.
that's not to take away from Giannis this season. He's had
I hope he
an
does.
absolutely
I hope he
incredible
does.
season.
I hope he does. That would make me so happy. Because
Yeah.
at this point, I don't have to worry about anybody catching LeBron. It's not happening. So
Yeah.
let Giannis go give himself his own legacy. I'd love to see it.
I would love to see it too. If it does happen, congrats. It's just, it's LeBron.
All right, let's get into some series picks.
Let's do it.
All right, now what you guys are all here for, the bets that you can place on all the analysis we gave you. And as we have said, the Pacers, they're pretty close to the Bucks. It's pretty 50-50 in terms of the teams. But when that's the case in a playoff series in 7 games, when there's usually this big of a gap in terms of the best player on each team for Giannis and Haliburton, we're going to take the team with the better player. And that's why in this one, we're going to be taking plus 180 for the Bucks to win the series, as well as we got this at plus 125 on ESPN bet if you want to play that. But plus 1.5 on the spread. Basically, if if the series goes to 7 and the Pacers pull it out, we still hit this bet. We put a full unit on the Bucks plus 1.5 minus 125, and then about a quarter unit on them to win the series at plus 180. And lastly, for our player prop analysis, total made threes most in the series. We're going to dabble a little bit with Gary Trent Jr. We think that with Giannis taking the ball up the court as his primary ball handler, the Pacers are going to have to wall up a little bit more, and the shooters are going to have to be a little bit more evident. With Damian Lillard off the court and Giannis on, he's averaging 10 3-point attempts per 36 minutes. We think he's going to average about 27, 25 to 30 in this one. Should be more than enough volume. Obviously, the biggest threat here is going to be Haliburton, but he really hasn't been taking that many threes in these matchups against the Bucks. The Bucks they have a lot of defenders that he can just blow by. Brook Lopez especially, who we've talked about might get played off the court because of this exact issue where Haliburton just blows by and gets in the paint. He doesn't need to take these threes. I think he's taken 7 or less attempts in 5 of his last 7 games against the Bucks. So we're getting volume with Gary Trent Jr. as long as Haliburton doesn't do anything ridiculously efficient. We give ourselves a pretty good shot at plus 600. So those three together, go ahead and lock those in. We put about a fifth of a unit on this plus 600. So that's what we got for you guys. And yeah, we got a video coming out for each series. So make sure you like and subscribe and make sure you check out the other series as well. I'll see you guys in the next video.